Other questions for this group? Because obviously we've got good stuff to talk about.
The Young Justice animated series had an interesting thing with Captain Marvel where he wanted to hang out with the sidekicks because they were his age. Oh. And this has made me wonder, I'd like to get your take, where do you think Captain Marvel really belongs socially in DCU? Does he belong with the Justice League International?
No.
Or should he be more hanging out with the Teen Titans and Young Justice?
When Jeff Johns was doing the JSA, I guess it was in the early 2000s, he had Captain Marvel in there for a short time, and he had him kind of bonding with Stargirl.
Yeah.
And what was interesting was that they were the same age, but all the other characters are going, wow, this old guy's hitting on this kid. That was a kind of fun moment because, as the audience knows that he's, this kid at heart, basically. But I think I always felt like he would defer to Superman within the continuity. Obviously, there's people who hate the fact that he's not equal with Superman because of the past standing with Fawcett and stuff. But DC's never really published a Shazam that's been like super successful. Like it's never sold millions for them. Maybe that first issue I think did, but
yes, because suckers like me bought multiple copies.
Right. So it didn't. Right. But I think DC always looked at him as an acquired character. It's almost like they've never really devoted as much attention to Captain Marvel, Shazam, as they did to other characters that they've continuously published through low sales and good. They've maintained Wonder Woman when she sold poorly because of probably a contractual thing.
Yes. Yeah.
They also don't have, it's like he's almost like the stepson. So when we're doing it now, obviously Captain Marvel comes after Superman, so Billy would kind of defer because that's the guy who's established and that's the guy who's made the reputation and the truth, justice, and all that.
Do you want to say something? All right. Yes, sir.
Going on, you said, Jerry, is the concept of DC kind of with Superman, they want to keep him as the flagship. Were there ever like a concern that Shazam would overshadow him at some point?
That would have, honestly, that could have only have happened in any of these books that's outsold them regularly. But it was always.
Yeah, once the curiosity factor in 1970 was satisfied, the book sales definitely drifted down.
Like Shazam was a middle. Basically, it started out decent. It was never like their bestseller, but it was always in the middle. And they decided at a certain point to end it because it was kind of in the middle, and they told me they wanted me to do other stuff, and I fought for a fourth year, and ultimately that was my emotions and tied to the character was probably not the best thing for me in a way because they didn't let me get through the fourth year. They wanted to it was like a certain point, oh, we're done. And then can we get some dirty laundry out? I'm still annoyed years later that when they canceled Shazam.
Paying attention, bleeding cool?
They canceled Shazam they announced it to Wizard Comics in the summer of '98. And the book wasn't actually ending until issue 48 or something.
Yeah.
So there was like 5 issues or 6 issues left to come out, but issues that hadn't been solicited. And at that point, if someone said your book's canceled, well, hell, those orders for the last bunch of issues did go in the mail. Before that, they were decent. So it was like a stupid, it still makes me wonder, like, why would somebody who is in the DC sales department, why would they even say that? You could say it in the solicitation maybe, but even then I always thought a book should just end because you're just cutting your own throat by announcing it beforehand. You're giving people a jumping off point, no matter what title it is. It's just a known kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
all right, John?
I was wondering if everyone could comment. Do you think his name?
Even Kevin?
Yes, if Kevin wants to comment. Do you think his name should be Captain Marvel or Shazam?
Just thinking that. I think it should be Captain Marvel because it's old lawyer crap.
the reality is none of us control that.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can, as a fan, you can still enjoy the fact that he's Captain Marvel, but it's not in anybody's hands that could,
Does the room understand why it's Shazam and not Captain Marvel? Enough heads.
Okay, everybody-
No history lesson required. Okay.
I've got another suggestion though.
Yes, Jeff.
I would like them to go to, as I understand, the original name was going to be Captain Thunder.
Yes.
That's why he's got a
Yes.
lightning bolt on his chest.
And Roy offered that in the 80s. Roy said in the early 80s.
It works
He
fine.
said, well, you could call him Captain Thunder. And he and Don Newton even worked up a Captain Thunder character, like a spin-off for another member of the Marvel family. And DC didn't want to do it. And then Roy trademarked Captain Thunder with some book he did with Dennis Melanie or whatever the...
Dennis Maloney, yeah.
Maloney, yeah. So
I think
that's
that would have
not
worked
available
for me.
anymore.
It would. I would have liked it, and then because it creates a weird thing. Like, what do you call Mary?
Right.
You call Captain Mary? Is he Shazam Jr.? I don't
But
know.
would she, Mary Thunder sounds like a...
Mary Thunder's kind of
Sounds like she's a kick-ass,
Yeah.
you know, she'd have like a chain belt and, you know, she'd hang out with Lobo.
Other questions? In the back.
So I'm not sure why it is Shazam, not Captain Marvel. I know people were head nodding yes.
All right, so as briefly as possible.
You guys tell me.
After Fawcett went out of publishing in the 1950s, Captain Marvel was not published by anybody. As a result, in the 1960s, a guy named Myron Fass saw that the character name was not being used, and that's considered legally trademark abandonment. So he rushed out this Captain Marvel character in the 60s when superheroes were popular thanks to Batman. And this was an android who would say, split, and his fist would come out and fly across the room and hit you. And it lasted,
Great comic book. I love it.
it lasted like 2 or 3 issues. But Martin Goodman at Marvel at the time said, wait, trademark has been abandoned. We're Marvel Comics. No one's using Captain Marvel. We'll create Captain Marvel. Stan, give me a Captain Marvel. So Marvel of the Kree race showed up in Marvel Superheroes number 13 as Captain Marvel, which is why when DC finally got the rights in the 1970s, the comic had to be called Shazam and only be allowed to say the original Captain Marvel as a subhead.
We got permission to do it on the first cover of our book, and I think that was because Mike Carlin and Mark Grunwald, there was like a little more communication between the companies, but that was like one of the few times that it had happened.
So once Martin Goodman and Marvel published a Captain Marvel and kept that character in print in his own title on and off for years, and then had the Ms. Marvel spin-off and all, that gave them the ability to claim that, and in the comic book marketplace, that was the problem. So that's why the TV show was called Shazam, that's why the movie is called Shazam, that's why the character is now called Shazam, stupidly. But
Now,
that's
think about this. In March, there is going to be Marvel's Captain Marvel movie in the theaters. 3 weeks later, Shazam comes out. So there are going to be theaters that are playing Captain Marvel, and they're going to take that movie out and put Shazam in. What are the odds?
yeah, the confluence is amazing.
Yeah, who could have imagined any of this? Like, you know, 20 years ago, you would think, wow, a character, because Captain Marvel was never like a really major character for Marvel either. I mean, the Jim Starlin stuff they let him kill him off.
Yep.
He disappeared for a period of time.
Yeah, and then of course, you know, there's the Black Woman Captain Marvel, and then Carol Danvers Captain Marvel, and then.
And I've done them all. When
Because
I did my
they're talented.
Avengers thing, I made a point of doing the Monica Rambeau Captain Marvel, and I did the Carol Danvers Captain Marvel just for fun. So you know, I was checking off boxes, but yes, you can collect them all.
Was there a hand? Yes, sir.
Question for
You're wearing the wrong lightning bolt. You can't ask.
question for I guess maybe advice for the future writers of Shazam, since Jeff Johnson's taking it over for Sue. Do you think that he should focus more on the individual story of Shazam as a person, or Shazam with the Shazam? Seen different writers kind of go in both directions.
All right, so
What do you think is more effective?
Captain and Billy, or Captain Billy and family?
Start on that end.
Jeff already kind of introduced a family aspect to it in his whatever's already been published, the post whatever New 52. You know what, I've known Jeff a long time, and I love Jeff's work. My biggest advice to him would be to keep it somewhat lighthearted, keep it optimistic. I mean, because he's certainly among any of the people, he's a super talented guy, but his stuff is dark. you know, and I'm sure that's a commercial. There's a commercial aspect to that because he likes lighthearted stuff. He was a huge Power of Shazam fan. I think his first paid job, whatever paid writing assignment, was an interview with me for like Comic Book News or something while he was still in college.
Wow, really?
Yeah, yeah, and so I mean, I know he likes that stuff, but I think there's a perception that it has to be dark to be commercial, you know. So I would just say for him to keep it optimistic and not, you know, it doesn't have to be totally slapsticky or whatever, but the concept itself should still be bright.
And on that note, I want to thank Kevin for sitting in on this. And I'd like to thank you guys for your time and attention.
Denny's got an announcement.
I've always wanted to do this as an adult. I used to do it as a kid. Shazam!
These guys will all be at booths downstairs. You should frequent them.
6:20. Oh yeah, we should all yell that thing.
Well, Heroes Alliance and 620 and Jerry and Rachel at their table, wherever that is.
We're around.
Oh wait, can I get a picture of the group?
Yeah.
Yes, I want the Shazam team.
I'll get one with mine, one with yours.
Even you.
You want me to remain sitting or?
Yeah, let's go huddle around. You're Uncle Dudley in this. Okay, move over here.
Thanks.
I'll be one of those hillbillies.
John, do you know Jerry? Have you met?
Yes, I met Jerry a couple times. Clearly that's his phone.
Thanks.
All right, the DC postcard.
Are we done?
You're done. You can go downstairs now.
Oh, goody. Do you think I can sign my name if I go downstairs?
Why not? It's a free country.